Hello, welcome to Trisha's Cards and Crafts and tonight's Facebook Live. I'm a little bit early tonight because I need to pop out. I should have done it earlier, but I didn't. So I've got to pick my daughter up as well. But there we go. That's what I've got to do tonight. That's why I'm starting a little bit earlier. I've not got my my iPad up here tonight, so I won't be able to see any comments or if anybody's managed to join or anything like that. So I'm just hoping that if you are able to come and join me, then please add your comments and I will answer them afterwards. If you want anything or you need anything, just I'll try and check if I can as I go. Okay. Right, I think we're still a little bit early. I thought tonight, I've been wanting to do this for a while and I haven't managed to get round to it. I'm going to make, I saw in our mini catalogue, the September to December mini catalogue, that there were some ornaments for putting on a tree, for hanging on the tree, made with these metal rings. So I managed to find out where you could get them from, and apparently the person that made them got them there, although they were in America, they got them from Amazon. So I had a look on Amazon and they'd used different stamps, different decorations for them. But I just thought, when I saw this stamp set, which is on our online exclusives, I thought this would be a brilliant set to use to put in one of these rings. You can get, I think they're called macrame rings, and you can buy them in lots of different sizes. This particular set I bought off Amazon, and they are 2.5-inch metal rings. It says metal rings for craft. I think 2, 4, 6. I think there's about 10 in the packet. I'm not quite sure. It says 50 on there, but 10 pieces, and they're 2.5-inch. So that's what I bought. This is the one I've already made, just to make sure that I got the sizes and everything right. And I used for this one the angel image. There's lots of nice images. You could use the gingerbread house, you could use the robin or the bells. You can even put the mistletoe with the robin or the mistletoe with the bells maybe. You could just put sentiments on them. You can do whatever you like, obviously. Because I've made one with the angel, I'm going to make the next one with the Father Christmas. And what I've done with this one, I stamped it in with Memento tuxedo black ink, and I did the same. I thought I'd try one out. I'm going to use one of these, but I'm still not sure. I think I will use this one. I did this one first to try it out, and I did colour his nose in with red. I didn't like it, so I then went over it with the whichever colour this is, the dark petal pink. And I also, I don't know, I'm not so fussed on this one, and I've changed the colours slightly on this one, and I stamped this one with wild wheat because I thought it looks quite goldy, and I thought that would look quite nice, a bit more sort of, also a bit like stained glass. Another way would be to use Versamark and use some gold embossing powder, and that would really make it stand out. Or if you've got black embossing powder, you could use black embossing powder on it. But I'm not going to use embossing powder because not everybody has it, but you can just use the inks themselves. Now I'm using the blender pens to do mine as well. On this one I used the watercolour pencils, and I've coloured them using Balmy Blue and Pacific Point, and these are from an old set of pencils. The new set of pencils got different colours in them, but you'll still be able to have the colours that you need to be able to colour that in. I didn't colour the dress in, or the whatever, and I used Flirty Flamingo to do the hands and the face. And then I went over it, I don't know if you can see it, but I went over it with, what's it called? This is called Wink of Stella. That's it, Wink of Stella. I've used some linen thread to tie it on with, but you can use anything that you've got. I was thinking of using some clear thread that I bought, some nylon thread, but I don't know. I haven't got it upstairs anyway, but I did buy some to try it out, so I might try some more with that. But I'm going to use the linen thread for this one as well. The other thing I saw some people have done is they've actually tied it with linen thread, and then they've tied a little bow with some ribbon, so I might do that one with this one as well in a bit. It does move slightly, but not a lot, so I'll show you how I tied the thread as well, but it does hang nicely and it will go around. You could even move the actual inner part of it, because it isn't attached to the actual band. Now I've used a 2 1/4 inch punch because I've got one. The 2 inch would probably be okay, you'd have more of a space around it, and the 2 3/8, which is available for this one, you might need to get a bigger diameter ring. It actually touches the edge of the ring, so you would have to probably get a bigger one if you wanted to use the 2 3/8 inch, but that's up to you, obviously, what you want to do. So I think I'm going to do this one, another version of this one, so I'll show you what I did. But again, if you want to use the black, it would look nice with the black ink as well, and I'll show you how I did it. So I just using a piece of like 2 1/2 inch strip of white card. I'm going to use this Wild Wheat ink, and I'm going to stamp up the stamp that I've got on my block already, and there we go. Just position it tidily. There we go. So that's stamped. I don't need the ink anymore, so that can go away. And now I'm going to start colouring, so I'm going to try and make sure that I colour it the same as I did with this one. The ink isn't quite dry yet, so just give it a few seconds to dry off a little bit, otherwise it might move. I'll try my best not to, but with the alcohol inks, it shouldn't smudge anyway, because then these are the ink is water based for the, so I with this one he's got I think that's a piece of hair, but I've just coloured it in, so I can't use that. I can't do it. I could go over it with some white ink, but I will see. This is the only thing that I found. It's not always easy to remember which bits you colour in and which are not. So with this one, this is the dark pecan pie, so I'm going to use the fine nib end rather than the brush, and I'm going to colour. I'm trying not to touch the lines if I can, because I think it might be the card that I'm using, but it sometimes does leak a little bit into the bleed into the lines, so I'm trying to avoid them if possible, not to go over them. And then you can use, if you use an alcohol ink pens, it's sometimes a bit easier if you do them in circular motions, but it's completely up to you. And I'm going to colour this piece, and I've just gone over the lines, which I said I wasn't going to do. So there we go, and I'm going to do this bit here. So I'm just trying to remember which bits are dark and which bits are light. I think I got that the other way around, but never mind. Actually, I might colour all of that in dark. And then this piece here in dark, and this little bit there. So those are all my dark pieces, and the rest are going to be the light. And again, I'm using my finer nib end for this. So for his sack, it doesn't matter which bits you colour in and which bits you leave. Which, you know, if you want to use two different shades, you could just colour them in. But to make it look more sort of like stained glass, if you want to get that sort of effect, it is more effective if you use different colours on different panes or different sections. Okay, so that's my browns done. Now I chose to use, I've got the Cherry Cobbler Dark and I've got Real Red Dark, because I didn't like the Cherry Cobbler Light. It's a bit pinky. I did it underneath this one, but I didn't like it, so I went over it with the Real Red Dark. I've got here's so that's the Cherry Cobbler Light, and that's the Cherry Cobbler Dark, and that's the Real Red Dark, and that's the Real Red Light. So I don't know which. I didn't like the light of either of them, so I thought the two darks together would be nice. I've tried a few different coloured greens out as well, and I've ended up using Bermuda Bay light and dark. I've also got the colour lifter, but I'll explain why in a moment. So this is the Cherry Cobbler Dark, and I've only got sort of two portions to colour in, and I got a bit over eager with my Real Red last time when I started colouring in the white part of it, but never mind, I'll try not to do that on this one. So I used a white pen to go over that one to try and I did use the colour lifter, but it still left a little bit of a mark around the edges. So that's my reds done, and now for the greens. So I'm using the dark one. I'm going to go as close as I can, but I don't want to go over the edges of this. So I'm just going to go, I'm not worrying about the lines on this bit. I'm going to go as close as I can. So I'm just going to do there we go, close to the edge, just around the edges, so that I don't go over the colours that I've already laid down with this end of the pen, and then I'm going to go over the rest of it with the brush end, and the brush end on this pen is not the best. Probably do with a new pen, but I haven't got one, so I've got to use this. You've got to use what you've got. So as you can see, it's not quite as good as I would have liked it to be. So this is the thicker end. So that's all I'm going to do with the dark. Then I'm going to start with the light, and again I'm using the brush tip again, and I'm just using light strokes because I want it to be lighter as well, but I'm going over the dark so that it hopefully will blend in as well. There we go. So I've gone over it all. There we are. So now I'm using my colour lifter. I'm going to go back over it all so that it fades out as it goes out. So I'm going to go over it all, but because it's darker closer to, it will lighten up as I go towards the edge. I'm not going to go too close to the other image, the image of the Father Christmas and his cap and everything, because sometimes when you take the colour out, it just moves it. It moves it to the back usually, but sometimes it does move it to the side, and I don't want it to go into any of the other colours. So just going back over these to take any sort of lines out. Just going to go back over this right at the top again, just to take as much colour out as I can. So that is, when it dries, it will be very much like that. I'm just going to take any colour off my pen in case it wasn't. Now I'm going to use the Wink of Stella, and I'm just going to go over the white parts. I'm not going to go over anything else, just the white parts. You might not be able to see any difference on the camera, but I can tell you that there is a difference. There we go. Because there's lots of nice sparkle when you use the Wink of Stella. There we go. I will put some on there, even though it's not in the white there. Right, so I've done, once it dries out, it will dry out more like that. Okay, so now we need to punch it out. So I'm using my 2 1/4 inch punch. Again, like I said, if you've got maybe the 2 inch punch, but you'd end up losing out on the outside rim of the circle, or if you use the 2 3/8, you'd have a little bit more of the circle showing. I'll get it now and you can see the difference there. So you will have a bit more of the white showing if you cut it out with a 2 3/8 inch punch. But I'm going to use the 2 1/4 because I know that fits, and I've done the other one already and I want it to be the same if possible. So I'm just going to line it up. You can get a tiny slither of white around it parts, but that's not a problem. I just want to make sure it's even, and that's still a little bit more on that side than the other. There we go, that will do. So I've now got my 2 images. Now for putting the thread on. So I've got some, well, I do have, yes, here it is, some linen thread. I think it should be still in the catalogue, I think. I can't find the end. It's not the end. This is fun. Why can't I find? There it is. And I used about 9 inches on the last one. Well, 18 inches, sorry, altogether, for the one I made. Right, so I'm just going to cut it off about there. Now, because it's been on a card, it's got some dents in, but if you actually pull it straight, they will come out, so you don't notice it as much. Right, on these rings there's a little dent here, and that's where I started. So I tried to get as near as possible my thread in so that it was equal at the top, at the ends, and then pulled it down so that it was straight. Now I'm going to put this either side of the ring and pull it to where I got to the end, hopefully. There we go. And I'm putting the end where where the join is there. So I'm just going to keep, and hopefully that will keep it anchored. Okay, but to make sure even more that it does stay anchored, I'm just going to tie it's not easy one-handed. There we go. I just put it down while I tie the knot. Well, it's not a knot, it's just one tie. There we go. So tie it as tightly as possible. And now it should stay where it's put. There. The other one did without a problem. Right, now I'm going to tie a double knot, put the threads together, and I'm going to try my best to get the knot to come just below where the ring, so it'll be inside the ring opposite where that knot is, okay, where I've tied it. And then, so hopefully this will then stay where I want it to stay. And then I'm going to put one piece of string either side, and I'm tying a knot this time, so I'll tie it twice. So once, and get this as straight as possible, and then once I've got it tight, I'm going to do that again. So now I have my knot, and hopefully that won't move too much. Okay, so that's now tied, and then I'm just going to tie the knots, the two ends together, and they have moved because they are definitely not the same length now, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to cut those, trim that off at the top. So now I've got my loops there. Okay, now I want to turn one of these over and the other one's going to go on top. But I'm going to put some glue on here first, and I'm going to use Tombow. Now I can see with this one, I couldn't see with that one, that which way up my Father Christmas is. With this one, I couldn't see which way up the angel was, and she managed to move around a little bit and didn't end up where I wanted her to be. But she's okay, because it just looks as though she's looking up to the sky, which is fine. Which I suppose in a way she probably is. So there's my glue on there. I only need that much, and I'm going to put the ring over the top with the thread in the middle, and then I'm going to put my other Father Christmas image over the top, and I'm going to press it down, sandwiching my thread in the middle. So I'm just going to make sure that it is in the right place, so I can move it slightly if I need to. Don't know how I got some on there, but I did. So we just want, got some on there now. I don't know what I've done with my little, I'll find it in a minute. Here it is. I'll just take the sticky off there. I don't want to rub too much, we'll end up taking it off. There we go, that should be fine now. So that is how you make your little decoration, and it's nice to have it on both sides, because then if you do hang it up, it doesn't matter which side is showing, there'll be an image on both sides. You could, if you wanted to, put a name on it. You could put a sentiment on there if you wanted to. You could put whatever you want. But that's what I've done today, and that's my little decoration ready for my tree. And hopefully, if you fancy making one, I'll put in the comments below, I'll put the link to the Amazon, to the actual where the actual rings that I've bought. So hopefully then, if you wanted them, you can get them. You could just use a circle of paper, and you could do a little frame yourself with if you've got circles, or if you've got a circle punch, you could punch the one out, and then you could punch the other one slightly bigger. So if you've got different size punches, I've only got the 2 1/4. You could actually, if you punched it out of with a 2 3/8 inch punch, and then you punched another one out with 2 3/8, and then you punched it out at 2 1/4, you could make yourself a little frame if you've got punches, and then you could put the frame around on the actual thing, and you could tie it to the frame that you've made. You could punch it out a different coloured card maybe and put it over the top. Or if you've got dies and you've got circle dies, you could do the same thing with circle dies. If you don't want to be bothered about buying the rings, you could just do it that way. Or if you wanted to, you could use some acetate, if you've got acetate, and you could stick these onto acetate and just punch a little hole in the acetate to tie your thread onto it. Okay, it's completely up to you what you do, obviously. I'll just try and tie a bow. Well, I won't cut it first. I'll just tie this on here first. I'll see if it works. So I'm going to tie, if I can. I don't know how much I'm going to need. That's the only problem with doing that, is you don't always know how much you need. So this is what I saw somebody doing, had done with the decorations they made. And then they made a little bow. Oops. I can always take it off if I don't like it. Here we go, if I can get this to come through. Maybe this ribbon is a little bit thick to do this with, because I only want a small bow. Here we go. Let's try again. Make this a bit smaller. Don't need the bows to be quite so big. Problem is, didn't leave enough of an end on that end. Make this a bit smaller. Just pull that tight. There we go. So if I cut this end like that, and I do the same thing on this end. There we go. So I've now got, ooh, I don't like that. That didn't work very well. Yes, well, maybe not. I don't think that worked particularly well, because now the ribbon looks a bit squiffy as well. Well, there you go. There's the ribbon with on there. If you want to have a ribbon on there, you can tie a ribbon on there. I'm not sure I like that on there, but maybe if I'd used different ribbon, it would work differently. I have got some white ribbon that's a bit thinner. Like I've got on my scissors. It's crinkle ribbon, but this isn't in stock anymore. They don't sell it anymore. But this one they do. It's the iridescent, where does it say? Iridescent ribbon. And it's a 1/2 inch wide. It might be better with thinner ribbon than that. Maybe, I don't know how this one would work, but I've got this balmy blue. That might look nice with it as well. So you could... The other thing would be to tie the ribbon and then stick it on. That's another way of doing it. Might be better. But yeah, there's lots of different ribbons. That might be better. But yeah, so those are the decorations for today. Thank you for joining me. If you want the stamp set, it's on the online exclusive. It's not in any of the catalogues. So hopefully it will stay around a little bit longer. The linen thread, I think, is in the catalogue. I can't tell, but if not, you can use any thread that you've got. You can use blends. You can use the watercolour pencils. You could use felt pens if you've got those. You could use the ink and use a watercolour brush to. It might be better if you did it on Fluid 100, I think it's called, the watercolour paper. Or if any watercolour paper that you've got, if you were going to do the watercolour pencils. If you were going to use the ink and water it down, because you could do it that way. That would be nice too. Again, if you want to do it with the black instead of the gold, you can do that. Those are that's the difference with them. I've used exactly the same colours, more or less, except for there's sort of a light cherry cobbler underneath the dark real red, but that's the only difference. and I didn't worry too much about going over the lines with the black, but I tried not to with the gold, with the wild wheat. But there you go, that's the difference. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of them on my YouTube channel, I'll try and put this up as soon as I can on my YouTube channel. If you like the videos on the YouTube channel, if you click on the subscribe button and the little bell icon, you'll be notified when I post a new video as well. There we go. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully I'll be able to get off and get what I need before I have to go and pick my daughter up. I only need something, a few bits and pieces, but I didn't have time to go out earlier on. There we go. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you again on Sunday with my it'll be on over on my YouTube channel. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.